Hi, ladies, Mr. O'Sullivan. Today we're going to be looking at lesson 7-5. It is Thursday, April 29th. We are starting marking period number 3, and we are looking at geometric sequences, day number 2. Today's learning target is I can apply the definition of a geometric sequence by finding a specified term and constructing the nth term. So just remember, the general form of a geometric sequence is a sub n equals a sub 1 times r to the n minus 1, where our a sub 1 is going to be our first term, and our r is our common ratio, or what we multiply by each time. And if you have a hard time figuring out what your common ratio is, you can always just do r equals a sub 2 divided by a sub 1, and that will give you your common ratio every single time. So let's do some practice problems. Given the geometric sequence, -3, -15, -75, -375, what we want to do is we want to find the common ratio and find the nth term. Whenever we have this right here, we want to find out what the rule is. So for part A, I want to find out my common ratio. So to do this, I need to figure out what I'm multiplying by each time. So to go from a -3 to a -15, I multiply by 5. To go from -15 to -75, I multiply by 5. To go from -75 to -375, I also multiply by 5. So if I look, I'm multiplying by 5 every single time, so I can say that my common ratio is 5. Now, when it says to rewrite this to find the nth term, I know a sub n equals a sub 1 times r to the n minus 1. So now I just make my substitutions. I always have a sub n similar to like a y equals. I now need to know what my first term is. So if I look at my sequence, my first term is -3. I now need to know what I'm multiplying by each time. So if you look, I'm multiplying by 5 each time, or my common ratio, and I raise it to the n minus 1. And that's my final answer. So given the explicit formula of the sequence, find the first 4 terms. So I want to find term 1, term 2, term 3, term 4. So all we're going to do is we're basically just going to do calculator work. So a sub 1, everywhere I see an n, I plug in 1. So I have 2 times 1/4 to the 1 minus 1. When you type that into your calculator, what do you get? Very good, I get 2. Now I do the exact same thing to find a sub 2. I plug in 2 for n. So I do 2 times 1/4 to the 2 minus 1. When I plug that in, what do I get? 1 second. I have to type it in. When I plug in 2, I get 1/2, or 0.5. When I plug in 3, I do 2 times 1/4 to the 3 minus 1, and I type that into my calculator, and I get 1/8, or 0.125. And now I want to find a sub 4. So everywhere I see an n, I plug in 4. I type it in, I get 0.03125, or I can convert that to 1/32. And those would be your terms. And I would just highlight those to say they're your final answer. I have 2, 1/2, 1/8, 1/32. Also, I didn't need to do all this work for a sub 1 because we know that our first term is 2 just by looking at it. Question number 3. Heavy rain in Brienne's town caused the river to rise. The river rose 3 inches the first day, and each day twice as much as the previous day. So basically on day 1, I have a 3. On day 2, it's twice that. So what's 3 times 2? 6. So on the third day, what's twice 6? 12. What's twice 12? 24. So that's my sequence. So if I look at this, they're telling me it's geometric. So I know a sub n equals a sub 1 times r to the n minus 1. To go from a 3 to a 6, I multiply by 2. To go from 6 to 12, I multiply by 2. 12 to 24, I multiplied by 2. So I know that when I do this, I end up getting a common ratio of 2, and I know my first term is 3. So my equation, or my rule, would be a sub n equals 3 times 2 to the n minus 1. Now for part B, it says how high is the water on the 4th day? So all I do is I just plug in 4 for n. So I do a sub 4 equals 3 times 2 to the 4 minus 1. Type that into your calculator and tell me what you get. If you typed it in correctly, you should get a sub 4 is equal to 24, which means that on the 4th day, the water is 24 inches high, or 2 feet. Part 4, determine if the following sequence is geometric. If it is geometric, find the nth term. So if I look, I need to figure out what I'm multiplying from 243 to get to a 49. Give me the heads up. Since I'm going from a larger number to a smaller number, I'm going to be multiplying by a fraction because I'm getting smaller. So I know that my common ratio will be a fraction. It's going to be a fraction, but now I got to figure out what that fraction is. And I'm giving you the heads up. I don't really want to figure it out the long way, so I'm going to use my rule that I showed you before, where I said if you want to find your common ratio, just take a sub 2 and divide a sub 1. So if I look, a sub 2 is 49, and a sub 1 is 243. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do r equals a sub 2 over a sub 1, so in this case 49 over 243. I'm going to type that into my calculator. And I get 0.20164600905, but I don't like that. I'm going to hit math, enter, enter. Math, enter, enter. Divided by 7. 243 divided by 7. And I get 49 over 243. Is this geometric? Let's look. So 243. 1 second. If I look to get from a 243 to a 49, if I do this example, to go from 243 to 49, I would have to multiply by 49 divided by 243. I would have to multiply by 49 over 243. But to go from 49 to 7, I would have to multiply by 1/7. Because 7 divided by 49 is 1/7. So if I look, they're not the same number each time, so this is not geometric. So I can't write a rule to find the nth term. But let's do one where we actually do have a fraction as our common ratio. So let's do an example number 5. So given the sequence 12, 6, 3, 1.5, and so forth, I want to figure out what my rule is to write an equation for this. So if I look, when I go from a 12 to a 6, I multiply by 1/2. 6 to 3, I multiply by 1/2. 3 to 1.5, I multiply by 1/2. So if I look at this, I can actually write a rule. A sub n equals a sub 1 times r to the n minus 1. And if I look, my first term is a 12, so I can say a sub n is equal to 12. My common ratio is 1/2, and then I have raised to the n minus 1. So it is possible to have a common ratio of a fraction or a decimal, and it can be less than 1. So that's it for today. Make sure you complete this edPuzzle. There is no delta math. If you have any questions, email myself or Ms. Townsend. Have a great day, ladies.